Hi everyone, welcome to iFashi. Today's tutorial will be teaching us how to make this beautiful dress. This is the part 2 of this tutorial. We already posted how we drafted the upper bodice of this dress and how we cut on fabric both the flare under and the upper part. And in the drafting tutorial, we talked about the type of fabric that we'll be using for this project, which is your original organza fabric, your duchess or your bridal fabric, and then the hard net to make the flare stand. Then you have the collar stay for the back panel of this dress where the loops will be inserted. So in the previous video, we went ahead and drafted on pattern paper and then we cut on fabric. So today we'll be taking us through the whole process of the joining of the pieces together, how to get this sleeve pleated, and how to drape it on top of the dress. So guys, let's get right into today's tutorial. So here are the pieces that we cut in our last video. The link to the drafting tutorial is on the description box. So today the first thing I'm going to start with is to pin down these pieces the way it's going to be joined on the sewing machine. So you take your center front and your side front, secure them down with a pin, and then you're going to take your side back, pin it to the side front, and then the center back, pin it down to the side back, just the way we are going to be stitching the whole pieces. Now when you're attaching your center back, be mindful of the side, the straight part, which is the loop part. Do not pin that side because that's the part our loops will be attached to. So after pinning this whole thing, this first one I'm pinning now is our lining. I'll go ahead and pin the main fabric. In this project, I'm using duchess material for the main fabric, which is the outside that will be showing on the upper part of the dress. And then I'm using bridal fabric, this bridal satin, for the lining on the inside. Because I mentioned bridal earlier, do not think I used bridal as the outer part of the dress. So I've gone ahead to pin down the main fabric and the lining. So the next thing I'm going to do is to take it to the sewing machine and stitch on this part that I just pinned. So this is what we have. I've gone ahead to stitch down all of the parts that we pinned. So we've stitched the main fabric and the lining. The next thing we're going to do is to open up the seams and give it a very good press. Kindly make ironing a habit when you're sewing because it gives you a very neat job. So this is what we have. I've gone ahead to iron out all my seams. And the next thing I'm going to do is to turn the main fabric with the lining on the neck part. So I'll place the two right sides facing each other and then I'll secure it with a pin. I'll take it to the sewing machine and stitch. So after stitching, I'm going to be inserting my cup on the inside. So this is what I have. I've stitched the neck all around and I've gone ahead to notch it. Endeavor to notch this curved part so that it doesn't come out squeezed on the outside. Also, I've top stitched. After making the first stitch, I top stitched towards the lining, on top of the lining. That's what I top stitched on before I fixed my bra cup. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to iron out this neckline that I just stitched. Now after ironing this part, this is what we have. We're going to go ahead into the next one, which is the attaching of the loops to the center back. So I've gone ahead to make the loops with the same duchess fabric that I'm working with. So I'm going to be using 1 inch spacing for my lacing bar. So endeavor to mark out your 1 inch or whatever distance you want to give, but 1 inch is just fine. So I'll arrange it on it the way I'm going to be stitching it down on the sewing machine. And after pinning it down, I'll fold it down. This is how I'll stitch on top so that the outside will be looking like this. I'll repeat the same thing on the other side. And then the next thing I'm going to do after stitching these two loops part down is to add my modesty panel on this side back, the point where we joined our center back to our side back. I'm going to be attaching a modesty panel there. I actually recorded it, but I couldn't find the clip after. So this is what we did now. After attaching the loops, I turned it with the lining and then I attached my modesty panel on that side back. If you don't know how to add the modesty panel to your dress, we have other corset videos on our channel where you'll be getting to see how we usually add our modesty panel to our side back. Now after doing that, we're done with the upper part of this dress. The next thing is to start working on the down part. In order for us to do that, we're going to go ahead and take our waist measurement first. After taking my waist measurement, what I have here is not up to my waist. Remember the opening we have on the back piece. So the other part of the measurement will be on the skirt part. So I'm going to be arranging this down part the way it's going to be stitched. The first one that will come up is the shortest organdy, and then the second step of the organdy will come right after the first step, which is shorter. After that comes the bridal fabric that will be seen under the organdy fabric. So I'm just putting it down here. As you can see, it's on fold because I want to notch the midpoint. So I'm arranging it on fold for now. So the next step that will come after the bridal is our hard net. So all of the folded parts are facing the same place because I want to give it a notch. That's why I'm doing this for now. If I open it up, camera cannot cover the whole angle when it's open. That's why I did it like this on fold. So watch closely and see what I'm doing. These are the 4 steps that we have. The short organdy comes first, the longer organdy comes second, the bridal comes third, while the hard net comes fourth. And then the last piece we'll be adding is our lining. This is the one we'll use to turn the whole thing so that to cover the stitch that we have on our waistline. So after adding the lining, we would use the lining to cover the stitch on the waistline and the remaining allowance on the back. So now I'm going to open it up and notch this middle because this notched part will start at our midpoint. So I'm also going to give my upper part a notch on the midpoint as well. So after notching the midpoint of my upper part and the midpoint of my flare, I'll place the 2 notched sides together. I'll open up my flare and place the 2 notched sides together and stitch it down to the left and to the right, and I'll be right back to show you guys. Now this is what we have. I've attached the first 4 steps, which are, I'm going to explain it again. Now the first step I attached was the short organdy. Just watch closely. The short organdy comes first, the longer organdy follows, the bridal then follows before the hard net. Mind you, this bridal and the longer organdy are the same length. So now after doing this, you're going to turn it out like this before you use the lining to turn. When you are using the lining to turn, the wrong side of the lining is facing you at this point. Then you pin it down. When you now flip it down, the right side of the lining will come out so that it will look neat like this on the inside. So I'll go and do that now and I'll be right back. Now this is what I have. I've attached the lining. So when I flip the lining over, it covers the rough part we have on this back here and also covers the rough part we have on the waistline all the way to the other zipper allowance. So from one end to the other, we've turned it with the lining. The next thing we're going to do now is to fix our zipper. In order for us to fix our zipper, we're going to first of all take our waist measurements because I added extra allowance when I was cutting this flare so that I'll be able to pleat it, right? Now, taking my waist measurement, this flare is longer than my waist measurement. I have like 6 inches extra, which means I'm going to take off 3 inches from this end on the zipper allowance on one side, and I also take off 3 inches from the other end of the zipper allowance on the other side. So by the time I do that, I still have my 3-inch opening on the back where the modesty panel is covering before I'll now fix my zipper. So my zipper will be fixed on that 3-inch point that I marked out to cover my waist measurement exactly. So after doing that now, I'll be right back to show you guys what we just did. Now here's what we have. I've gone ahead to weave the down part. I did the outside weaving because I don't want to be turning it with the machine, and I fixed the zipper as well. See how simple it is to make this dress. The next thing we'll be working on now is the pleated sleeve that we're going to be draping on top. If you have not subscribed, remember to subscribe, guys. Like and share this video because it will be useful to others out there. Now this piece that we are going to be pleating, watch closely to see how I'm pleating it. I already placed it on fold first. Before I placed it on fold, this fabric I have here is over 1.5 yards. It's not to 2 yards, but it's over 1.5 yards. So I'll place it on fold first before I started pleating. So watch closely to see how I am pleating it. This pleating takes a whole lot of time. You're going to be patient with it. And then if you notice, I'm pinning it on the same spot because I want to iron it later. Another thing to note, when you're pleating, make sure the back side is also pleating alongside the front. Because sometimes when you're pleating, the back will not pleat, the back will be straight. You have to be very careful to make sure that you have pleats on both the back and the front. So I'm going to speed up this part because this pleating part takes a whole lot of time. Just watch closely and see how I'm pleating. Now another thing you need to note with this pleated sleeve is one is going to be longer than the other. So if you're using 1.5 yard long for the shorter sleeve, you're going to be needing 2 yards for the longer sleeve. This is because one of the sleeve is longer than the other because of the points that are going to place it on top of the dress when we start adding it to the dress. So make sure one is around 10 inches longer than the other. So I'm almost done with the pleating of this first one. This is what we have. After doing this, you're going to go ahead and give it a good press. Like I said before, make sure the back and the front is being pleated when you're pleating. So this is the reason I made sure that my pins are all in the same line so that it will be easier for me to press, so that my pins don't end up melting on my fabric. So you're going to give this a very good press all around. And then another thing I did with this pleat to make sure it stays, I added hemming gum to a few parts of this. Don't put hemming gum everywhere because the sleeve is not even meant to stand strong. It's flexible, but just because you don't want it to open, like just lose the pleats when you finish, because we're going to be removing these pins. So in order for us to secure some parts of the pleats regardless, we're going to be adding hemming gum. So and when you're adding this hemming gum, make sure you add it to the wrong side, which is the part that will be on the inside, not on this outside that I pinned. This other side is the inside of my sleeve. So if you notice very well, I am not putting this hemming gum everywhere. It's just on some few parts of the pleats. So I'll put it inside like this, and when you're ironing, please iron on the right side, because if you iron on the wrong side, you can end up squeezing the outside because you're not seeing what is happening under. So we're going to go ahead now and do this all over this sleeve, and then I'll repeat the same thing for the second sleeve. The only difference between this one and that one is the length. That one is longer than the second sleeve, is longer than this first sleeve that I already pleated. After ironing, this is what we have. I'm going to go ahead and repeat the same thing for the second sleeve. I'll be doing that off camera because this takes a whole lot of time. Now this is what we have for our 2 sleeves that we'll be needing for this dress. Like I mentioned before, one should be longer than the other. So when I measured, one of the sleeve, the shorter one is around 28 inches, and then the longer sleeve is around 39 inches, which is like 10 to 11 inches difference. And as you can see, for the hemming gum, I did not put it everywhere. Even on the wrong side, you can still open most parts. And then for the outside, which is the part that will be on the outside, there is no hemming gum on the outside at all, because for this dress, the pleats on the sleeve is flexible. So I'm going to be taking us to the mannequin to teach us how to attach this sleeve on top of the dress. So now I'm going to be starting with a shorter sleeve. I had to pin down this dress on the mannequin first because the dress is bigger than the mannequin size. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is to place the shorter sleeve at the midpoint, exactly the way you're seeing it like this. Starting from the upper part, you pin it down, right side facing the right side of the dress, before you now flip it over, taking it to cover the bust. So I'm also pinning it down under the bust and on top of the bust on the neckline, because it's supposed to cover the neckline completely. Now, after securing it down with a pin on the bust part, the next part we're pinning is the joining we have on this back side, where we joined the center back to the side back. So the line we have there is where we are going to be stitching this back side on. And make sure you've taken your measurements before you join this one, because you don't want the sleeve to be too big or too tight. It's meant to be free actually, but not too big. So you're going to hold it down with a pin according to the measurements you're working with. And after doing this, we'll now go to the pinning of the next one. Now, for the pinning of the next one, it's not starting from the middle the way this one started from the middle. So it's starting from the under bust of the left sleeve that were already attached, right, that were already pinned down. So this is the longer sleeve, like I mentioned before. This is why this one is longer, because of where it is starting from. So it's starting from the under bust line that we have there, where we join the side front to the center front. So you pin it down there before you take it towards the second side to go and cover the bust we have on the second side. So I'm also going to go ahead and use my pin to hold it down on the neckline and on the under bust, so that it covers the bust completely. So this part that I'm pinning down, mind you, I'm going to tack it. You hand tack it with your needle and thread, because it is going to be tacked so that it will not be dangling about. The only part we are stitching with sewing machine is that back side and this front side that is on the under bust line, and the side that is on the middle, the beginning of the first sleeve that you pinned, and also this back side. We're also pinning this one on the joining we have on the side back and the center back, that line we have there. So you're going to pin it all the way down before you take it to the sewing machine to stitch. So after pinning it down and you're sure you're okay with how free it is, according to the measurements you're working with, you remove it from your mannequin, take it to the sewing machine and stitch on that back side and on this under bust front side. Then for this other upper part on the neckline and on the under bust, the part that you're using to cover the whole breast part, you're going to hand tack it. So I'm hand tacking all of this part that has these pins on the bust. Then I'll stitch down this back and the front. So that's that. After doing that, we'll go ahead and remove the pins that you're seeing here. So after tacking this place, tacking this other side on the neckline, you tack the bust part as well. Then you can now go ahead and remove the pin. After removing the pins, this is what you're going to have. Remember I mentioned earlier that I'm working on two colors, the blue one and the butter yellow. So I'm done with this blue one completely. The butter yellow was the last one I did. So you can see where I tacked this one on the upper part. Make sure your tacking is not visible at all. You raise it up and tack on the inside, and when you're done, you go ahead and remove your pin, and that's that for this dress. It's very simple, guys. Remember to like this video, share this video, and let us know in the comment section what you would like us to do next. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Remember to follow us on other social media platforms. We are on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram as iFashi. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.